welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be having a look at the Yamaha MT10. I was lucky enough to spend 2 weeks with the bike over the course of July, thanks to Yamaha Motor UK that kindly lent me one of their press fleet to use on a daily basis. So this is what I'm basing this review on. Ignore the bike behind me there, obviously the stunning XSR 900 GP. That's a feature that's going to be coming up very soon, and a bit more content I'm working on now. So that's a little taster as to what's to come, and I'm looking forward to sharing that with you soon. But getting back to the MT10, MT, first off, it stands for Master of Torque. Okay, makes some sort of sense, doesn't it? And this range was originally launched by Yamaha back in 2016, unveiling as what the advert's called the dark side of Japan, which sounds a bit sinister, doesn't it? But it's not about that. It makes it sound a bit exciting, I suppose, doesn't it? Anyway, over the following 7 years, the MT range has come in a number of different engine sizes, ranging from a 125 all the way up to the R1 inspired 1000, which is what we're going to be looking at today. I mean, what's not to like about a straight barred brute with sit-up riding position, which to all intents and purposes is being powered by a superbike engine? I mean, it's bound to be onto a winner, isn't it, somewhere along the lines there. I mean, there are plenty of rivals for the MT10 out there. I mean, notably from European marques, the Ducati Monster Street Fighter, the MV Augusta Brutale, and the Aprilia Tuono. But these can't compete with the Yamaha on price on the cost front. At just over 14 grand, I think it's £14,316 on the road. The Yamaha is a hell of a lot of bike for your money. And also keep in mind that the MT10, although is a detuned R1 lump, is actually kicking out more power than the original 1998 R1, right through to the 2003 model R1. It's still a seriously capable bit of kit. Let's have a closer look at the bike and what it can offer us. The latest generation of the MT10 was launched in 2022, and significant changes were made over the outgoing model. The jewel in the crown of the MT10 is its 998 16-valve base engine, based on the heart of the R1 superbike. The inline 4 double overhead camshaft crossplane crank, which fires at 270, 180, 90 and 180 degrees, is an absolute diamond, and it kicks out 164 brake horsepower with 82.6 foot-pound of torque. It will propel the MT10 to a top speed of around about 160 miles an hour. Admittedly, by modern standards, on paper this doesn't sound or look that impressive, even when compared to its rivals or its own 200 brake horsepower sibling. But the engine has been reworked with a road in mind rather than a racetrack. Steel conrods replace titanium, giving lower cost but a boost in inertia and mapping that give the MT10 a real kick up the backside in the mid-range, rather than a rush at the top. In the real world, this makes for a much more usable power delivery, where the 4,000 to 8,000 RPM sweet spot is much more accessible when it's time to up the pace. Holding everything in place is the Delta Box cast alloy twin spar frame. Seat height is 835mm and the bike weighs in at 212 kilograms. Suspension wise, KYB take care of keeping everything in check, with fully adjustable 43mm upside down forks and fully adjustable single shock rear at the back. The brakes are strong with 4-pot radially mounted semi-monoblock calipers chomping onto 320mm discs and a twin-pot caliper mated with a 220mm disc at the rear. Brake master cylinders come from Italian experts Brembo. Cornering ABS makes sure you stop in a controlled way, even if mid-corner. I must admit though, I feel a slight corner is cut with the rubber brake hoses instead of the braiding. Factory fitted rubber is courtesy of Bridgestone with their S22 tyres, a 120/70/17 on the front and a 190/55/17 on the rear. The exhaust system is Yamaha's own and full of titanium goodness. It's not the loudest on tick over or general riding, but open it up and rev it and the sound is an intoxicating roar that sounds like a MotoGP bike. The powers that be have ensured that the bike is not loud, but the induction noise is addictive. This is accentuated from the openings in the side scoops that feed the airbox and channel sound directly up to you. Display wise, the MT10 has a full colour 4.2-inch TFT dash. It's easy to read, very clear with all the information you could need and a bit more. A degree in computer science is needed to work your way through all the settings and options, but once you've got your head around it, it's pretty easy. That said, there are not enough words for me to convey adequately and describe it. Suffice to say, there are plenty of options to work with. Speaking of which, as with all modern bikes, there are usual rider aids: traction control, anti-wheelie, engine braking control, cornering ABS and slide control, all of which are adjustable. Add to this a choice of 4 power maps. If I'm being honest, there are so many options and configurations, you can tailor the bike to suit you or your ride. It can be as docile as a sleepy kitten, or it can be completely bonkers. Personally, I like completely bonkers mode, but truth be told, it's actually better in the one step down bonkers mode, as it's a lot more roadable. Basically, now brace yourself for this, there are a total of 4 power settings, 5 traction control settings, 3 slide control settings, or just turn it off, on or off for the quick shifter, which is both up and down through the box, 3 wheelie control settings, again these can be on or off as well, high or low engine braking management settings, and 2 brake control settings. You got that? There's quite a bit to take in there. If that isn't enough, you have cruise control and a speed limiter too. For me personally, I think cruise control, whilst a great idea, it doesn't sit that comfortable with me on the bike, but I've not been really brave enough to try it out. There is a distinct lack of connectivity to your phone, but I don't mind that, as riding is a chance to get away from the phone anyway, and why would you want music when you've got the music of the engine to enjoy? Typically the MT10 is very well built, and of course there is a range of optional extras to add to it if you wish. Styling wise, Yamaha are keeping to their original design brief, and the looks are faithful to the ethos of the bike. It might be hard to call it beautiful, but it's aggressive, it's futuristic, and it does look a bit like a transformer. It might not be pretty, but I think it looks pretty awesome. On the road, the bike has a supermoto-esque riding position, and the seat is spacious. Although I did find myself sliding forward quite a bit under braking and at low speed, and after a long ride my backside did begin to feel a bit achy. Although I did note I didn't slide forward so much when I was wearing leathers, it was mainly in textiles. When you get to the twisties, the MT10 behaves impeccably. It handles beautifully, and whilst firm, the suspension has a great range of adjustment, meaning you can fettle it with it to suit your riding. From razor sharp hooning or track on the track, or soften it up for all day riding. The Bridgestone S22 tyres get up to temperature nicely, they hold their heat and are confidence inspiring in wet and dry conditions. Naturally I can't say how they cope with winter, as I only had the bike for a fortnight in July. The engine, as I say, is something beautiful, and I think I will rate it as one of my favourite engines ever. It delivers on every aspect. Sound, yep. Power, yep. It's just the right level of kicking, but smooth thrust and flexibility. I love the way it mixes the best of an inline 4 engine with the feeling and vibe of a twin. It's simply fantastic. The 6-speed gearbox is smooth, and the quick shifter helps you get through the changes with a satisfying pop and bang up and down through the box. There's no hiding that you're exposed on the MT10. It's fine if you keep things in check, but open it up and start to push it, and the MT10 does all in its power to try and pull you off the back of the bike. You certainly do have to hold on. I didn't dare to try and take it to its max, but I can vouch for the fact it's certainly fast. Up to 100 miles an hour, I'd say is one of the quickest bikes around. That said, I'm not a stunt riding hero, but the MT10 is the easiest bike in the world to wheelie. In controlled environments, of course, I hasten to add. And literally it sends the front wheel skywards at will with the slightest whiff of the throttle. Up comes the front wheel, and that's great fun. The switch gear is all very positive and easy to use. It feels like it's certainly put up with the best reviews anyone can give it. Around town, the MT10 is happy to just trundle around, although I think it can be a bit snatchy, and I had to rev it a little bit more at slow speed manoeuvres. It's when you get to make use of its mid-range and top end where it's at its best though. The MT10 lives for those fast-flowing roads and twisty back roads where you can enjoy its character. Without the optional screen, I was certainly not fancying too long on the motorway at high speed. After dark, the LED headlights throw out a good amount of light with a good spread across the road. Economy, though, it's not the strong point of the MT10. It's a bit thirsty, and the 17-metre tank will give you a range of about 154 miles. That's about 41 to the gallon theoretically.
It's not bad, but it's not that great either. Hey, you don't buy a bike about like this to worry about fuel economy though, do you? I found on my 40-mile commute to work on mixed roads, I was getting just under this. This is probably due to the fact my route took in a lot of fun national limit roads, and well, it's rude not to give it a squirt, isn't it?
So, there you have it. Those are my thoughts on the MT10 Yamaha. So my verdict on that, really, the MT10 really is a bike that can do it all. And whilst it's not entirely perfect, it isn't far off. It's aggressive and it's rude, but it can also behave itself and put on a respectable front if you really want it to. It looks maybe a little bit Marmite for some, but it's certainly a head turner. And personally, although it's not my usual bag, I think it looks pretty great. As I said before, at £14,316 on the road, the MT10 offers great value for money. Add to that a 2-year warranty, and it really is an appealing prospect. I'm going to give the MT10 9 out of 10. It's not quite perfect, but it's pretty damn close. I suppose the big question is, would I have one? That's a certain yes, but I'd probably invest, as I was saying, in a higher screen just to take the worst of that wind blast off, slightly more forgiving seat, so don't get a numb arse after an hour or so in the seat, and I'd probably add some stump pads on the tank to aid gripping in textiles. And I know it's probably really a Princess and Pea thing, but I'd probably add some braided hoses. But other than that, yeah, brilliant. Go and have a look at one, see what you think, and let me know. Take care and ride safe.